Hi guys, this is Coach Waldo from TFW East Metro bringing you a little meal prep video here today. And we talk constantly in our program about the value of good quality nutrition, making sure that we're eating whole foods, making sure that we're eating nutrient dense foods as much as possible. And so one of the issues in America and in society today is that we tend to go for convenience much more than nutrition. And so I want to just show you today, so far I've actually done some of the preparation for this particular recipe ahead of time, but in total, with the help of my wife Jody, basically it took us about 20 minutes probably to prepare much of what you see before us right now. And so you can add that on to the little bit of time that's going to take us to do this video here today. Now today we are doing a recipe for a stuffed pepper soup, and I'm going to go ahead and hold that recipe up real quick right here, and you can kind of see some of the ingredients in there. We've got ground pepper, a diced onion, some garlic, some beef broth, some diced tomatoes, tomato sauce, brown rice, bell peppers, oregano, basil, salt, and pepper. All pretty easy to do, and we're just going to simply put it into our crock pot, which I've got ready to go right back here. Now, one of the tools that we use to chop a lot of our stuff, like onions and peppers and different things like that, is this little chopper machine right here. You can see I actually have some peppers left in here that I just got done chopping a couple minutes ago. And what you can do is put them in small little pieces. And you got this right off Amazon, and it comes with different inserts that we can put right in here to chop things at different sizes. And it makes your food prep go so much quicker, guys, and it's safer. You have less likelihood of cutting yourself and different things like that. So I would highly recommend using one of those. You just basically set the item right here, boom, chop it, it's done. One time, one action, that's it. So all right guys, so we have all of our different things here. We've got our beef, which I already have partially browned in the pan. All right, we've got our garlic right here. All right, now you could do cloves of garlic. We happen to just have minced garlic here at the house. If you get a clove one, you got to kind of chop it up again. You could use your machine right here for that. All right. Then we've got our beef broth, and we're choosing to use bone broth. So the value of using bone broth is that it's going to be higher in protein and again more dense in nutrients overall for you than just a standard beef broth. Okay. Then we've got our diced tomatoes. Now we chose to use a roasted diced tomato. This is going to bring just a little more flavor to our soup, and so give it just a little bit of kick. And then our tomato sauce. So we've got 8 ounces of tomato sauce here that we're going to be able to add in. Our diced up bell peppers. Okay, and so we've got 2 cups of those. We've got brown rice all ready to go. Now your rice, you could use your standard, just a brown rice, a long grain brown rice, of which they would say unprepared. You could also use a very simple like brown Uncle Ben's rice, but you want to be very careful with some of the flavored rices that are pre-prepared out there. Some of them have a lot of additives, a lot of extra flavorings and so forth, but some of them that are kind of more your standard brown rice aren't too bad, and they don't have necessarily a lot of sodium. So if you read your labels and you choose wisely, you can use some of the slightly pre-prepared rices that are out there. Okay. The other things that we have is we have some oregano and basil. Okay, oregano and basil that we're going to add, some sea salt, and a little bit of pepper. All right. So I believe we've gone through all the ingredients, maybe with the exception of the onions right here, which we also have pre-prepared and chopped up, ready to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn on my beef back here, which again I have pre-prepared for the most part about 90% of the way. So the beef is already browned. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add my onions first, and we're going to brown those in with the meat as well. Smells good already. And then with our minced garlic, we're adding 1.5 teaspoons. All right, so we don't want to get too crazy there. This is all pre-measured out. All right, and then we are going to brown this stuff up right here, which again we're getting real close to this being pretty much ready to roll. Now guys, keeping in mind that each week you should be spending you know, maybe a good hour or two just in your meal prep. So this is doing things like this where we're getting some things ready to be placed into the crock pot, where in large part a lot of the cooking is going to be done without you having to be right there. So that's pretty cool. And we call that batch cooking. So you're trying to cook larger portions or larger proportions of things at one time. So whether you're cooking like a big batch of chicken or some kind of a lighter meat dish, a low-fat dish ahead of time, but cooking up enough to have numerous servings at one time. All right. Now, while that's kind of finishing over here, I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. What I'm going to start doing is putting some of our ingredients into the crock pot. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to start with the diced tomatoes and the sauce here. Just going to dump that stuff in. Boom. Ready to go there. And now I'm going to go ahead with our diced bell peppers and rice, and I'm going to go ahead and put those guys in. See, that went pretty fast right there, huh? And then from there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the bone broth in, but I'm going to wait a little bit until I put the meat in first, all right? So that's going to kind of be the last thing, just in case, like I run out of room in my crock pot for all that broth. But that's good stuff right there. It adds a lot of good flavor. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stir this meat up real quick. All right, so we don't get anything burning in there. We've got to rotate those onions and everything around a little bit. Boom, it's looking good, smelling good. Very nice. Now this only needs to be for a couple minutes. Like, you know, you don't need to overdo it, right? So if your meat is brown and you're getting real close to that being done, that's the time to add the onions. That's the time to add the minced garlic. Give it a couple minutes and then take it off the heat. Okay, so we're just about done with that. Our next thing here, we got to add a little oregano. I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat down on this. So we're just going to let that kind of cool for a second. And for the oregano, we need 1 teaspoon. Okay, so I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of oregano right here. Bam. Oh, that smells good, that oregano. All right, I'm going to sprinkle that around over the top there, okay? Then the next thing we're going to add is a teaspoon of basil. So, right here, 1 teaspoon, once again, real similar amount. All right, gives that nice odor to it, awesome. All right, so we got our basil in right now. Now we're going to go with a 1/2 teaspoon, so I'm going to make an adjustment here on my little handy dandy measuring device, and we're going to add in a 1/2 teaspoon of some salt. And this is sea salt, kosher sea salt, guys. Okay, so we got that in there, and then our last thing is some pepper. All right, so we're going to put in a little pepper in, and you know, this might have to take the top off. You know, kind of hard to sprinkle into this little deal right here. Here we go. All right, we got it. Perfect. So we got all these ingredients in so far, and now we got to add in our beef and onions and the garlic. That's all in this pan right here. So I'm just going to come over and carefully sprinkle that in. Oh, it smells so good. Kind of like to eat it already. All right. So again, this is similar if you've made stuffed peppers before. It's kind of going to taste real similar to stuffed peppers, except this is a version that's going to be soup, all right? So I'm going to kind of pre-mix this up just a little bit, kind of get everything mixed inside the pot. Mix up that rice, the peppers, the beef, all the ingredients. We're going to kind of get that spun around in there a few times. All right. Awesome. And now we are going to try to add our 4 cups of bone broth. Now that, for the most part, is going to be this whole container, but depending on the size of your crock pot, you may or may not get it all in there. So that's why we want to wait to the end, and then we're going to fill this guy up. All right, so here we go. A little bone broth. Clunk, 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 clunk. I think we're going to get it all in here. And then we're going to mix it up one last time. There we go, and we're going to turn this guy on for at least a couple hours, maybe, or a little longer. So the recipe calls for something around maybe 4 to 5 hours, somewhere in there. Depends a lot on your crock pot, okay? So just kind of maybe to taste after 3 to 4 hours, taste it, see how it's coming along, and apply it the best you can. So I'm going to mix this up one more time. Again, that bone broth's going to give it a little more flavor and a lot more protein. So that's my recommendation. And depending on where you buy it, but around here, one of the cheaper places that we found to buy bone broth is at Walmart, actually. So if you happen to go to Walmart, that's a good place to get your bone broth compared to some others. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put this guy on right here for 6 hours, and we are good to go. So guys, low heat 5 to 6 hours, or maybe high heat 2 to 3 hours. You know, like depending on your crock pot again, like everyone's a little bit different and how much, you know, how quickly you can heat things. Sometimes, you know, cooking things a little slower is a little bit better. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this few minutes of meal prep with me today. Hope that you can take advantage of this recipe and try it out for yourself at home. Good luck finding that warrior within. We'll see you soon from TFW East Metro.